I really try to ignore these dumb maggots. But I couldn't ignore this one. So Byron Donalds had him a little town hall, and they were lighting his ass up in his town hall. But I just got to show y'all this here. So this fool actually posted, this is what he did. He posted, he's mad because they've had clips of his town hall showing folk, getting this behind. So he decides to post this 11-minute video from his town hall. But this is his tweet. The left created a false premise that minorities can only get ahead with DEI. That's actually a lie. This is wrong. This is a lie. Actually, your lie is a lie. This is incredibly disrespectful. Life, y'all, now this is the one that took me out. Life is about access and relationships. We should celebrate the success of all Americans, not tear down our neighbors in the name of DEI. Rebecca, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are meant to include you. And by including you, that means offering up a diverse field of people in order to have equity among jobs. So he says life is about access. That's why the programs were created, to give access, to literally give access to people who traditionally don't have the relationships already.
I mean, speaking of relationships and DEI, is he still mad that DeSantis is undercutting his potential bid for governor of Florida? Like, I don't understand what he's doing. Or even when he said all the people who protested at his town hall that they were plants and they were being paid. I mean, he confuses me. Here's the thing. Black folks in this country, we really don't want DEI if this was a true meritocracy. Because we know if it's a true meritocracy, we're going to rise to the top. But when you have systemic racism in this country, where we're intentionally left out of society in this country when it comes to proper banking loan rates, when it comes to education, when it comes to actually being able to compete and get the jobs and the quote unquote good jobs, we don't want DEI. We just want to be treated fairly. But because this country refuses to deal with this original sin and refuses to deal with us fairly, then these white people did come up with DEI. So he's right. White people did come up with DEI. White people are the main ones who benefit from DEI. But what he's saying is a word salad that doesn't make sense, because all this anti-Blackness that he's showing, he's not even getting thing out of it. Like, you wouldn't run for governor. You have other political aspirations and you don't get it. You wanted to be in Trump's cabinet, and guess what? You did not get it, but you did all this shucking and jiving. So now you're playing the fool, the minstrel. You're doing your own DEI program, but it's not working.
I thought this was pretty funny, Lauren, from the town hall.
A Cash by Isabel Wilkerson.
Have you read the book of my life?
Cash.
Stop. Don't educate me about my life, sir. Don't do that. Don't, sir. Hold on.
What?
Please, hear me on this. I like how everybody's shouting at me, the black guy on stage with the microphone, and saying, have you read the book?
Sorry, wait a minute. The guy said, have you read Cast by Isabel Wilkerson? And then what does he then do? Hope y'all didn't miss it. Y'all yelling at the black guy on the stage. Oh, so now we are acknowledging blackness. Allow me to play it again just in case some of you missed it. Listen.
Have you read the book Cash by Isabel Wilkerson?
Have you read the book of my life?
Cash.
Stop. Don't educate me about my life, sir. Don't do that. Don't, sir. Hold on.
What?
Please, hear me on this. I like how everybody's shouting at me, the black guy on stage with the microphone, and saying, have you read this book? Read this book? Don't marginalize my life and what I've done. Don't do that. Don't marginalize my life.
You read the book?
Do you know how many black men in America? Oh, I'm sorry, Lauren. Are we having a DEI conversation?
Now we're black now. So now suddenly we're black. we're black. We're black. He's going to get his melanin card pulled hard on the governor thing. I'm glad Rebecca brought that up. He's going to get that card pulled hard because it's just sitting here. I realized who he is. He's not J.C. Watts, but this reminds me of the J.C. Watts scenario because every room that Byron Donalds walks into on Capitol Hill is a bunch of white males. He's got to realize that. So when he talks about, for him to stand up there and talk about, diversity, inclusion being a problem and all of this stuff. His reality day to day in Congress would reflect that there is a need for access for minority communities. You cannot deny that. But he's about to get a political lesson down south. There's no doubt about it, because they are not going to favor him for the next governor of Florida. That ain't happening. So, it amazes me how long it takes some of these guys to figure out what the real game is. But, honey, he's about to figure it out. And for him to sort of be out there arguing about reverse racism as if you can somehow lie to yourself like this in front of all these people and then go home at night and not realize that this is all nonsense. I get that he's trying to, be loyal to the party. He, as Rebecca already brought up, he got nothing for that. And he's about to learn the lesson. By the way, Roland, Donalds has a bill to rename the press gallery after Frederick Douglass. Something I find highly ironic because it's very hard for black members of the press to get credentialed in that daily press gallery on Capitol Hill. But I'm going to talk to him next week about that because he's probably unaware of that. But at any rate, it is amazing to watch him up there. I refuse to believe he is as unaware of what he's doing as it may seem.
But here's the other deal, though. Again, if you want to name it after somebody, I don't know, Alice Dunnigan, Ethel Payne.
They've got photos and stuff up in the gallery of Ethel Payne, and they've got a photo of Frederick Douglass. I find all of that to be complete.
No. I'm just saying that if you want to rename it after somebody, you name it after somebody who actually covered. Hey, see, again, that's the dude. It's like, do you really want to have a conversation about the agenda of Frederick Douglass?
He does have a history of black press in that bill. There's sort of a little bit of a historiography of the black press. Again, I'll talk to him face to face.
Right. No. But the point that you're making is an important one, dude. If you want to be credible, then why don't you sit down with the black press today? Why don't show me, Byron Donalds, your black press roundtable? Show me how many black-owned media TV interviews you do. Oops, I'm sorry. What was I thinking? I'm somehow, Joe, talking about accountability. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's his damnedest thing, And, it's interesting, you got to give it to him. He's pragmatic. Like, in a moment, something jumped off and he became black before our eyes. Now, listen, we all knew he was black. The brother's my complexion. We knew. But at that moment, because of what he said, he knew. And most of the time, he plays it off. But that being said, we're going to go down the road here. And there's plenty of legit black conservatives out here that you disagree with, but who aren't putting the black card down all day, every day. But when he gets, chomped up by those alligators in Florida, let's see if he takes advantage and becomes black again and does that. When he sees it ring of unfairness, and see that he gets no traction and see that it goes nowhere, then we'll see, if he becomes black then, or if he just kind of chalks it up to the game, particularly if he has a poor campaign, how he'll actually explain it.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Folks, a black chef in Dallas, scary scene. Here he is sitting in the airport, minding his own business. Next thing you know, he looks up and he's surrounded by cops. A woman at the airport accused him of saying that he had drugs. And then this happened.
Did somebody take this? I didn't do nothing. My name is Michael Singleton. You have warrant. My name is, I got a traffic warrant. My name is Michael Singleton. I want you to please take this. They arrested me for wrong reasons.
No, why would y'all do that? He was standing still.
Oh my God, my name is Michael Singleton. My birthday's 12/21/71. I have back in Singleton, I have no warrant. I have a traffic warrant for $500.
That's fine. You're trying to investigate.
No, you said do I have cocaine? I'm not a drug dealer. Man, I'm a shoot y'all, man. You fucking trying to kill me. Hey, man, I didn't try to fight you. Why you tased me? I wasn't pulling away. They got me on tape. No, I fucking just right here. You fucking dickhead, bro. They asked me to put my hands behind my back when I couldn't even fucking move after you fucking electrocuted me. Sit down. You keep telling me to do shit like I can't, you dumb fuck. Come on. Man, fuck you. I just got tased for nothing. Hey, man, somebody please have this on tape. Michael Singleton, back to Michael Singleton.
Folks, we're joined right now by that man, Chef Michael Singleton, also Robert Slater, the founder of the Culture Commission Coalition. Glad to have both of you here. But first of all, Chef Singleton, again, set us up. You're in the airport. You're traveling somewhere. Tell us exactly what happened.
Well, I was going back home because I travel twice a month back to Oakland. When I say home, I live in Frisco, Texas. I go bring my mother her food because I cook for her because she needs no sugar, no salt. So that's why I was going this weekend because I didn't have an event. And I was just approached by as soon as I was in the tunnel going to the plane, I was approached by the plainclothes officers that identified themselves as narcotics detectives. And they asked to speak to me. I said for what? They said, well, can we talk over here? And then they proceeded to walk me over to the middle aisle. the middle of where pre-board was, where everybody was. And then that's when they proceeded to ask me the question, about, everybody seen it, about do I, basically assuming that I have drugs on me. Well, saying we're under assumption that you're possessing of narcotics and cocaine.
Okay, so how did they arrive? So, Michael, how did they arrive at that assumption?
I don't know. That's what we're going to find out. Somebody said something that I had something on me. I think some white substance or something like that. And then And then there was a lady on video, she recanted it and said, I never said cocaine or something. So basically somebody told them something that I had drugs on me or something, and they went into action, you know.
Robert, what I'm trying to understand is again, cops walk up, they don't see anything. Like, what's the probable cause that they have to search Michael?
Mr. Martin, that's what we're trying to find out right now. I have sent a demand letter to the New People Police of Dallas. No response. We have sent a letter and a complaint to the city. No response. The clock is ticking. There's a lot of answers. There's a lot of questions that are unanswered. Right now, there's nothing to justify why we have narcotic detectives inside the security checkpoint misidentifying an individual when they should be properly identifying real threats to protect our friendly skies. So DPD needs to start answering some of these questions, and that's what we demand.
Now, DFW, this took place at DFW Airport, correct?
Love Field.
Love Field, gotcha. Okay, so that's why I asked, because if it was at DFW, Fort Worth and Dallas have oversight over that airport. So, so Michael, when they approach you, how did it escalate to the point where you get tased?
Well, you know, like everybody's seen the tape. I just basically said that he asked me, can I search you? I said no, and just basically just went into action without I didn't even know why I was being arrested. When I said I have nothing else to talk about, and I didn't know why, and then that's when they went into action.
This is, obviously, absolutely a strange case here. Have you hired legal counsel?
So, Roland, that's what the Kojak Commission Coalition is. We're an advocacy agency that encompasses in-house legal as well as medical, trauma support, PR, so on and so forth. So we're a one-stop shop. We have an expert legal team that is investigating and looking into the matter and to advise what steps are next. But going past any civil matters, our number one goal is to see what is the systemic breakdown so this can stop happening. Enough is enough. And Dallas should be tired of these shoot first, ask questions later situations. But our ultimate goal is to be solution driven. And it's great that Mr. Singleton, that is his goal as well. So we will not stop until we look at their training practices and their policies, and that they have a public accountability on his behalf, because Mr. Singleton has not gotten an apology. He has not gotten a reason. And I'll further say that we found out just as recently as 2 hours ago, as they are ignoring our demand for the police report, they turned around and leaked the police report to some media to show one-sided bias. If they keep playing them games, then we will reciprocate in the same matter legally, and also demonstrate and we'll call for everybody jobs that sit in an official capacity for Dallas.
All right, then. Well, certainly keep us abreast of developments with this case, because it absolutely is quite strange. Chef Michael, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. And also, thank you so very much, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, certainly appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. I'm going to bring in my panel right now. Joining us, Dr. Omi Kongo, being a senior professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University, author of Lies About Black People, How to Combat Racist Stereotypes and Why It Matters. Joining us from D.C., Kelly Bethea, Communication Strategist from D.C., Derek Jackson, Georgia State Representative out of Atlanta. Omi Kongo, I'm going to start with you. I mean, listen, if I'm him, I'm thinking the same thing. I'm boarding a flight. Why in the hell are you coming up on me and asking me these questions? And if you're the cops, you need to have probable cause to accuse somebody of having drugs.
Yeah, and, it traumatized not only him but everybody in that airport. I also was flying in on Southwest Airlines over the weekend, and there's nothing that could have prevented that from or any one of us in these spaces. How does just somebody talking about someone having drugs lead to that? I remember my mother was in a train station once, her PhD from Harvard, and all of that didn't matter. The woman said that she tried to sell her drugs. Cops just went on her assessment and just arrested her. And my father had to go get her out of jail over some nonsense. And at what point do the people who make these accusations have to be held accountable? Because whoever said it, this person's on video, right? And the people who are watching this, if I'm watching that from a distance, I don't know if this brother got shot. I don't know what's going on. And so the fact of the matter is that they can do this. And on top of that, as the brother was saying, just play games with the investigation, not give out any of the police report, probably leaking stuff to Fox and News Nation and the like. I hope this brother gets paid for everything that he feels like he needs to get and more. But what if something happened to him? What if he had a heart condition? Who's taking care of his mother? He's flying home to take care of her. And people don't even look at the larger community implications of something like this. I'm very thankful that he's okay. But, and also I'm just thinking about all these other people there, just kind of bystanders, just kind of watching, oh, well, I got to go get on my flight. I wish there's a little bit more outrage from the people in the line and the like, but people get too comfortable when these things are happening. And then he's telling him to calm down. Who the hell is going to calm down after just being electrocuted? This is ridiculous. And I have not surprised, haven't seen this covered anywhere else today, Roland.
Look, here's the thing for me, Kelly. If I am this chef and I'm boarding a flight, I fly all the time. I've got 2 million plus miles, almost 3 million miles. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if I'm getting on a flight, minding my own business, typically I got my earbuds in, all of a sudden the cops stop me and accuse me of carrying drugs, I'm gonna be pretty damn pissed off.
And as well you should, because you were minding your business. Like you said, you set the scene. You got your headphones in, you trying to get on your flight, minding your business, and out of nowhere you have cops showing up accusing you of something that, one, you haven't been doing, you're not even aware of it, but also you have no idea where this came from whatsoever. And it's just unfortunate that the only time you see something like this is when it happens to people of color. Like, I would be absolutely shocked if I saw that kind of behavior towards a person of a lighter hue. It simply just does not happen. Certainly not at the rate that it does for people who look like me and you. To echo Dr. McCongo's sentiments, I am very glad that this man is frankly alive, because like he said, we don't know the health conditions of this man. We don't know what he was going through. I certainly would be racking up some therapy bills at this point, because lawsuits should be pending. Because this kind of behavior towards people who are supposed to be protecting and serving, when you were doing neither of those things, this is absolutely ridiculous. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. It goes without saying that. But the safety of everybody in that airport, frankly, was in jeopardy because of weaponized incompetence, as far as I'm concerned.
I'll tell you right, Derek, I can't wait to see the officers' body cam footage.
You're exactly right, Roland. But not only the two officers, but the two bystanders, they were citizens. You can see that they were citizens. So why is it that the two officers are allowing for two citizens to also place their hand on another citizen? Again, I certainly agree that this is a travesty. And just doing this a little bit of research, Roland, over 1,081 citizens have died from being tased. 1,081 citizens have died from being tased. So this is another demonstration that law enforcement have a lack of substantial reasons to use excessive force. And this is another reason why the community trust in law enforcement continues to be eroded. This is another reason why we have to address these kind of implications, because when you think about the lack of accountability and the lack of training and the lack of the protocols that are in place. He was already at the boarding gate, Roland. So that means he already went through PSA and several checkpoints. where there's dogs, where there's x-rays, where they've already examined. And so if a citizen's at that point of boarding a flight, they've already went through several checkpoints. And so this Michael Singleton could have been any one of us, and he needs to be awarded. But more importantly, these two police officers and these two citizens should be dealt with and held accountable.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
All right, folks, you heard us just talking about Bishop T.D. Jakes making the announcement that he is stepping down as senior pastor of the Potter's House in Dallas. This is yesterday's announcement.
You all know for years I have been talking about it. It may not work out the way I planned it, but I get on my knees and pray, and I plan my life in decades. How many of you remember me saying that? Not days, but decades. Because major moves take time. It may look like it was suddenly, but you don't know what the background work was. About 6 years ago, I started talking to Pastor Torrey and Pastor Sarah because I did not want all that I had spent my life and your life and our lives building to get old and go with us. This is a generational. And even though she was busy doing Woman Evolve and he was busy pastoring One LA, about 4 years ago, they moved out here just in time for COVID. God has a sense of humor. He throws you in the water and then says swim. So for the last 4 years, they have been swimming. I talked to the board because I was concerned. I have seen too many men build something and stay so long that they kill what they build. What you gotta understand is it's not so important that you just know when to grab a hold. It's knowing when to let go. Now, there's some other things that I'm assigned to do, both here and outside. But I cannot afford, especially after November, to risk something happening to me and you be sheep without a shepherd. I cannot afford to let all the work of all the saints living and dead to hold this so tight, so long, that I wither away. So I'm suggesting to you, I'm recommending to you that you receive Pastor Torrey and Pastor Sarah Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on. Come on. This is legacy. Not because they're kin, but because they're the kind. They've immersed themselves into the DNA of this church for years. Sat quiet, preached. What you didn't know, from November forward, they've been running the church anyway.
Folks, that was Bishop T.D. Jakes making the announcement yesterday that his son-in-law, Pastor Teray, and his daughter, Sarita, would be taking over as senior pastors. I'm going to go to, I'll start with you, Kelly. This is a significant announcement. We're talking about, this is a worldwide ministry. The Potter's House is not just a Dallas-based ministry. Bishop Jakes moving there more than 30 years ago, coming from West Virginia to setting up shop there in Dallas. National ministry, international ministry, traveling all across the world. Look, he's 67 years old. He has talked about that heart attack that he suffered from the pulpit in November. And that was a huge scare. He said later he didn't even realize that he was suffering a heart attack. And look, almost did not come back from that. And so this really is significant. It really is important. And I do hope it is a lesson, not just for preachers, but also for business owners and others to understand that when you build something monumental, how does it keep going? That's one of the issues that we've seen in a lot of Black-owned businesses, where they built it up and very rarely sons and daughters take it over. And so all of that work, all of that time, all that energy just simply goes for naught. And that to me is quite unfortunate.
Yes, you are correct in that. But I want to note and really highlight the significance of this from a woman's perspective. In the church, it is rare, incredibly rare, for a woman to take over a church of this magnitude. Like you said, this has been in the Potter's House in general has been in the making for 30 years. And in those 30 years, and before those 30 years, during those 30 years, and certainly after these 30 years, there has been attacks on women leading congregants, not because they're not able, not because they haven't studied themselves approved, but because there is toxic patriarchy within the Christian community, within Christian leadership, and it runs rampant. Doesn't matter what your denomination is, doesn't matter what your race is, it doesn't matter. In the religion itself, there has been, certainly within Western Christianity, a an undercurrent of toxic patriarchy, such that women have not been able to lead in the way that they could and should. So for Bishop T.D. Jakes to not only recognize that, but to flip it on its head and trust his daughter, who has more than studied herself approved, who has more than shown herself overqualified for this position, to bestow something so precious and so needed in the Black community, needed in Black church community, to a woman, that speaks volumes. And I don't know if enough people are going to talk about that point, but that is what I took away from this, that he trusted a woman, not just his daughter, not somebody who he has mentored, just somebody who he has mentored, but a woman to lead a church of this magnitude. Like you said, this is a global church, and a woman is going to be the head of it. And that's incredible to me.
I think back, Congo, to the point that Kelly makes there. Billy Graham, Reverend Billy Graham, it leaves the ministry to his son, Franklin Graham. But the real preacher in the family is Ann Lutz, the person who really, and if Ann Lutz was a man, oh no doubt, she blows Franklin out of the water. Franklin ain't even an actual preacher. Okay, so the real person who truly follows in the footsteps of Billy Graham is his daughter, Ann Lutz, but she's a woman. And that's how Franklin Graham was able to take the mantle of his father's ministry.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when you look at something like that, like the Potter's House, I mean, you're talking about a church that started with a man who, would pick up people to drive them to church, preach to them, and then drive them home. I mean, you want to talk about starting from the bottom and building an international organization. And so on two levels, I see something amazing. Number one, the fact that what you and Kelly are talking about as well, passing this over to a woman to lead this. And like you said, she and her husband have been running it ever since, the heart attack happened. That's powerful. And I think it's also powerful to show that, yes, this is a church that we're talking about. And you talked about businesses, but they're also, I'm thinking about the legacy civil rights organizations as well, and people not seeing the handoff take place. And unfortunately, sometimes things don't happen until somebody dies. There's documents, people are claiming this and that and this and that. He made it all official. He made it public for everybody to see. Doesn't matter what anybody says, this is what's going down. And that's really important. And so I think in addition to other churches, and in addition to businesses, other leadership and legacy organizations also could learn from this example. So in this brief moment that he has put out to the world, it was actually something that was very monumental and can be actually consequential if more of us would follow that example, who lead these other churches, organizations, and businesses as well.
Oh, absolutely. And Derek, it is, again, I hope other people learn from it. And you heard Jake say in terms of what's been built up. But he also, in a press release he announced, he talked about things that he wants to do. He really wants to now focus his energy on creating economic opportunities for African Americans and others. He has his organization in Good Soil. He really wants to be focused on the economic piece. With now that his time will be freed up, no longer being the senior pastor of the Potter's House.
Yeah, you're exactly right, Roland. And I want to just build upon what Dr. Omakamogo and Kelly. When you think about a mega church, it's a mega business. When you think about a congregation of 20,000 people or more, the responsibility goes well beyond just delivering powerful sermons, on a weekly basis. When you think about the role and responsibility that his daughter is about to step in, she's more than capable, not just in preaching and teaching, but talking about making sure that payroll is met. And the thing about this story, Roland, for me, it highlights the most important thing, and that's succession planning. We as Blacks do not do succession planning as much as we should. I can only think about, Coretta Scott King, She was thrusted into, with her role after Dr. King was assassinated. And it demonstrates that, to Kelly's point, that a woman has the capability and the capacity to get things done. We have the Dr. King federal holiday because of Coretta Scott King. And so when you think about T.D. Jakes passing over the reins over to his daughter and his son-in-law, it makes sense. We got to do more succession planning in all aspects of our lives, in the family, as well as politics and the likes. And so I agree that this 67-year-old icon, giant, felt the need to pass over what he has built over 3 decades to his daughter, and then ask the congregation, Roland, and say, I need you all to support this decision because it's the right decision to be had.
And again, folks, so our lower third is wrong. Jakes is not resigning from the church. He is retiring as senior pastor. And so that language is actually, the distinction is really important.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
I've consistently told y'all that this administration is absolutely anti-black. We have detailed this numerous times, how anti-black these folks are. We warned folk during the campaign that Donald Trump does not give a damn about black people. He doesn't care if cops beat people. He doesn't care if they maim people. He doesn't care if cops kill people, because he believes they can do no wrong. Now, remember during the campaign when Donald Trump said that he wanted to give cops 100% immunity? And folks were like, okay, you know what, all right, y'all making a big deal out of that. This really ain't nothing to make a big deal out of. Really, yesterday, this is the executive order that Donald Trump released. It's called Strengthening and Unleashing America's Law Enforcement to Pursue Criminals and Protect Innocent Citizens. So then when you start going under, here he talks about, it's about safe communities, blah, 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 businesses that suffer because of crime, blah, 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 blah. But then right here you get to Section 2, the legal defense of law enforcement officers. The Attorney General shall take all appropriate action to create a mechanism to provide legal resources and indemnification to law enforcement officers who unjustly incur expenses and liabilities for actions taken during the performance of their official duties to enforce the law. This mechanism shall include the use of private sector pro bono assistance for such law enforcement officers. Now, let me stop right there. See, you now may be asking, Roland, I'm confused here. Don't they have immunity? Oh, they're qualified immunity? Don't you already have law? No. This is Trump saying we're going to provide legal counsel for y'all. And remember when Trump extorted the money from all those law firms? When he signed those illegal executive orders and they agreed to do pro bono work for whatever causes he wants, he is going to tell Pam Bondi, hey, go to those law firms that I've already extorted and they gonna work for these cops for free. That's literally what he's saying. Go back to the rest. Go back to the. Then it says empowering state and local law enforcement. They're going to sit here, expand access, prove training, increase pay and benefits, strengthen and expand legal. See, strengthen and expand legal protection for law enforcement officers. Blah 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 blah. Using national security assets for law and order. He wants to use the military. You see this Department of Homeland Security, holding state and local officials accountable. You see this here? Look, y'all love this one. Willfully and unlawfully direct the obstruction of criminal law, including by directly and unlawfully prohibiting law enforcement officers from carrying out duties necessary for public safety and law enforcement. Boom, right here. Unlawfully engage in discrimination or civil rights violations under the guise of diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives that restrict law enforcement activity or endanger citizens. Keep going. You see this here? All these things they're going to do. Folks, I want y'all to understand something. In the Department of Justice Civil Rights Division, hundreds of people are resigning because they are gutting the DOJ Civil Rights Division. That means Ahmaud Arbery. That means Eric Garner. That means, I mean, we can start naming all these cases. Tyree Nichols, Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin was pled guilty to federal charges in the death of George Floyd. I'm telling y'all right now, Donald Trump is saying the DOJ is out of the business of prosecuting cops. He pardoned 2 officers in D.C. who were convicted of their involvement in the death of a black man. When he came back in January, pardoned them. Those 2 cops are now back on the police force. We interviewed the reporter last week about the case of the LA deputy sheriff who brutalized the black woman who was recording an encounter. He was found guilty. Trump's U.S. attorney, hey judge, can we review this? Give us 3 months to review the case. Judge said, no, he's going to be sentenced on May 19th. Watch. I guarantee you within 10 days of the sentence being handed down, Trump is going to pardon him. What we are now seeing, we are now about to see a level of brutality that is being absolutely authorized by the Oval Office. Val Demings, former police chief, former law enforcement officer for decades, former member of Congress. She joins us right now. Glad to have you back on the show.
Roland, it's good to be back with you. I wish it was under different circumstances, but every day things just seem to get crazier and crazier, as I'm sure you know.
This is a dangerous executive order. And this is an executive order. It is targeting black people. It is targeting civil rights attorneys. And it is saying to law enforcement, do whatever you want. I got you.
You know, Roland, what's so amazing about this order, and look, everybody, whether you voted for Trump or not, shouldn't be surprised at some of the lawless, unhinged, chaotic, crazy foolishness that we see coming out of the Oval Office every day. But in the executive order, when in the title it talks about unleashing American law enforcement officers, and you know, Roland, I spent almost 3 decades in law enforcement. It was a job that I loved because I felt like working with my community. It was, we were making a difference. But this is about dividing communities. And I am just praying that local sheriffs and police chiefs, our law enforcement leaders, don't fall for it this time, because the bottom line is Donald Trump doesn't give a damn about law enforcement. I think he demonstrated that on January 6th. Look, I was there. I witnessed it. I know he sat in the White House staring at the TV for hours doing nothing while police officers were being beat down by his supporters. I think he basically called it a beautiful thing. But he doesn't give a damn about law enforcement officers. But we do know that he's in trouble right now. That 39% approval rating is bothering him, and we know what he does when he's in trouble. He pulls something out of, well, I won't go there, but, and usually racism and sexism are the go-to things. And you're absolutely correct. As I'm reading this executive order, and I get to law enforcement basically should not spend time on DEI programs and more time on, like, how the heck did that get in there?
Right.
Because the bottom line is, look, they're going to work every day trying to reduce crime for the most part. And the truth of the matter is violent crime all over the nation is down right now, that they need to keep working at it every day. But what sparked the sudden interest in Donald Trump suddenly falling in love with law enforcement again and pulling out the isms?
Yeah, but it's not recent. This was May.
Yeah.
Folks, this was May. This was almost 1 year ago to the day. Listen to this.
We're going to rebuild our cities. We're going to bring them back like they used to be. We're going to make them safe places again. We're going to give our police their power back, and we're going to give them immunity from prosecution. So they're not prosecuted for doing their job. We'll take over the horribly run capital of our country, Washington, D.C., and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital city so that it's no longer a nightmare of murder.
See, he doesn't.
And Roland,
go ahead.
Look, it's 4 years, though. My point is, on January 6th, the lawlessness that took place at the Capitol when the president could have done something about it, he did nothing. And he said nothing. And isn't it interesting that now, the last year, he is suddenly so interested in let's protect, let's do something, let's look out for law enforcement. And it's interesting, too, that nowhere in his order does it say wrongdoing or violating policies or violating the law. Nowhere does it say those things matter.
No, it doesn't.
Executive order.
No, but he doesn't. He doesn't care about victims. He doesn't care about somebody who's been brutalized or maimed or killed. He doesn't. His whole deal is, hey, y'all deserved it. That is his belief. Remember, this is the same guy who called for the death penalty for the then Central Park 5, now the exonerated 5.
And it's amazing as I read it. Increased pay and benefits we know he believes that everybody can be bought. I mean, we know he believes that. And now here he goes with the buzzwords, right? Increased pay, increased benefits. Oh, we're going to give you extra legal protection. And like I said, nowhere does it say whether they were engaged in criminal activity or violation of policies or laws, because he believes that law enforcement can be bought. And Roland, they cannot solve crime without trust and a relationship with the communities. And that's why I'm hoping that through these turbulent times, Donald Trump has clearly showed us who he is. It's amazing. The most recognizable criminal in the world suddenly wants to pretend to be all about law and order. And I'm certainly hoping that police chiefs and sheriffs will not fall for his foolishness, because regardless of what the federal government says they're going to do or not do, local law enforcement cannot solve crimes without a relationship and trust and cooperation in those local communities. And I do believe that the overwhelming majority of law enforcement officers do want to solve crime.
But here's the problem. We know for a fact that he is playing to the crowd. And look, Congresswoman, we got to admit, It's a whole bunch of right-wingers in law enforcement, and this is music to their ears. We've had, every time something happened, I've seen cops in Baltimore and Chicago. Oh, our morale is down. Look, I remember Jeff Sessions, his first attorney general. Hey, we're going to pull back on these consent decrees because the morale of our cops is too low. And Barr saying the same thing as well. Now, the reaction should be, if you are in the wrong and you beating a citizen, you got to go. No, but there's that blue line is just blinking in a huge way. And Trump is saying, I'm going to let y'all do what y'all want to do.
And Roland, you know, I spoke to a group of law enforcement officers recently. And what I said was that you have to be, because you are the most visible symbol in every community. And you have to work hard to be the most visible symbol of honesty, decency, and integrity, and have a message that everybody counts, but everybody's accountable, and treat people with dignity and respect. Look, as a police chief, I didn't want bad apples on my police department, and I did everything that I could do to reward the good officers, but to get rid of the bad officers. And so you're correct. The president's actions, which he obviously doesn't care about law and order, we know that. But he's sending a message to bad cops that don't worry about it, do whatever you want to do, it doesn't really matter, I got your backs. And that is that will be a disaster, as we well know, in communities all over this country.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, go to my iPad, Anthony. I remember this was in L.A., where this guy was just sitting there asking the question, boom, cop just punches him in the mouth, okay? You know, and we've seen these actions. We've seen what has happened. Yesterday we talked about a Spokane, Washington, black guy, you know, wrongfully targeted, handcuffed, arrested. Now he's suing. We talked about the case out of Alabama, and in fact, you know, we were talking about, there's another story. We were talking about this one. Like, here's a perfect example. A judge in Morgan County, Alabama, ruled that former Decatur police officer Matt Marquette cannot claim self-defense in the killing of Steve Perkins, an armed black man shot and killed in his own front yard in September. It clears the way for Marquette to stay in trial for murder in June. The shooting took place during a late-night attempt to repossess Perkins' truck. Marquette and other officers showed up with a tow truck, but under Alabama law, police aren't allowed to assist in repossessions without a court order, and there wasn't one. Instead of announcing themselves, the officers hid in the yard. When Perkins came outside with a gun, Marquette yelled, "Hey," and fired 18 rounds in under 2 seconds. Judge Charles Elliott called Marquette a trespasser and said no reasonable officer would have opened fire under those circumstances. Now, he's going to get prosecuted under state law. Donald Trump is saying, DOJ, we ain't pursuing nothing. We're not going to pursue any charges against this officer. If anything that involves on the federal level, Donald Trump saying, hey, y'all good. Don't even worry about it.
You know, Art, I mean, the really sad part about this really is, you know, there's been a lot of work done all over this country with the community, police officers, police departments working hard to improve the relationship between the police and the community. And now we have a lawless president who certainly doesn't give a damn about that relationship. He doesn't have a good relationship with the truth. He doesn't really care. I think he's demonstrated, we're listening to it every day. He doesn't give a damn about what happens to black and brown people in this country. And now he wants to use the tool of law enforcement for his benefit to really push and support his racist policies. He can only do that with the cooperation of those police executives. And I'll say it again. I am hoping that they would step up, because you know what? They law What do you want to be known for? What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want the good police officers in your agency, when they leave the station every day and go out in that community, what is the kind of environment that you want to create for them to have to face and deal with? And so Donald Trump, look, he could care less about law enforcement. He could care less about Black and brown communities. He's going to pull out the isms, racism, sexism every time he gets in trouble. And he doesn't care who loses their life or is seriously injured in the process, because it's all about Donald Trump protecting Donald Trump.
Yep, it's as simple as that. It's sad, and I mean, we're going to be talking to defense attorneys, and we just got to understand these people. He doesn't care. He does not care about victims. He does not care about a regular, ordinary citizen. And this is also why, Congresswoman, I've called out these black maggots. I've called out Pastor Darrell Scott. I've called out Sharice Lane. I've called out David Harris Jr. and Brandon Tatum in the Cartier family, Joseph Pignon, all of these black conservatives. I'm like, when y'all are sitting there cheesing, Michaela Montgomery, all of y'all, Angela Stanton King, are y'all talking about what's anti-black? No, they're not, because they just happen to be some Negroes sitting in the room. And I've said it. There used to be I still know, they still exist, but there used to be real black conservatives. Senator Ed Brooke, who stood up and fought members of his own party to break the filibuster for the Fair Housing Act. There are numerous other black Republicans, but they are quiet. And these are absolutely anti-black executive orders that this man is initiating.
And you know, Roland, again, regardless of what table you sat at or what party you were in, because I remember good, decent black conservatives as well. But how could you ever sit in a space or in a room or at a table and forget the people who suffered, bled, and died for black people to have a better life in this country? How could you ever forget the images of my former friend and colleague, John Lewis, on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, who had his skull cracked because he was trying to help every person to be able to vote. And so,
right, and, that was police brutality. See, nearly every riot in the 60s, if you go back to the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, the 20s, 1919, nearly every race riot was instigated. It was a police action that was the case. The Kerner Commission report talks about that. I mean, you could just understand the history, this relationship, and to your point, you've had folks who made the effort, community policing. I think about Lee Brown. I think about others who understood how we must relate to the community. And I just listen. Donald Trump ain't got no respect. Congresswoman, this actually happened. The first time he was there, so when they have these meetings, so the president, whoever's the president, typically meets with television anchors and reporters. So I got invited to 3 of them under Trump. I got to 2. And Chicago came up. And he was complaining that, well, when Ron visited me, Ron was talking about education, economics. He was like, Ron, that's not the answer to crime. And I was like, actually, it is. I've talked to numerous police chiefs who will tell you that where there are high education and high income areas, it's the lowest crime in the city. They all go together. So he's talking, and he says that when they were going to the airport, he said he came across this really tough cop. He said, you could tell he means business. And he came to me and said, Mr. Trump, we can solve this crime problem in Chicago in 3 or 4 days. And Trump was like, this guy, you could tell he was just a really tough guy. So, we passed his name on to Ron to be interviewed for the police commissioner. So he's talking about, so I sit there and I go, Well, what's your plan? This is no lie. This is what he said. He went, tough. I said, I'm sorry. Tough is a word. What is your plan? No lie. He said tough. I sat there. I was taking notes. I put my pen in my, I said, y'all can take it from here. That's literally his tough. Tough. This whole executive order is tough. We're going to be tough on crime. The hell of it is tough. It's tough. It's all macho. It's all John Wayne. It's all just tough. That's all it is. It's tough talk, and he does not care about the outcomes of the people. Final comment.
And Roland, we learned decades ago, as you mentioned earlier, that every person who's interested in this area knows that if you want to reduce crime, then you have to address some of the social ills that cause decay in communities in the first place. Quality education, housing, dealing with mental health issues, making sure that regardless of what community or whatever zip code, that you're able to receive the best education, dealing with unemployment issues. That's the way you reduce crime. I'm not even sure what the president is talking about in terms of, or anybody that says, oh, the way to do it, the answer to it is toughness. How has that worked for us? And so we need a police department that can not only work with the community to reduce violent crime, but also a police department that has the compassion to treat every person with dignity and respect. By building that relationship, that is how you reduce crime. And so the president can come up with yet another crazy, chaotic, unhinged executive order. But I am prayerful that law enforcement executives will say, we're not tying ourselves to Donald Trump because where he goes, chaos goes.
Indeed, indeed. Congressman Val Demings, we certainly appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot.
Good to see you. Take care.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for supporting Emerge. Thank you for supporting Emerge. It is so wonderful to be home and to be back with all the leaders who are here and to celebrate this extraordinary organization, which is an organization of so many exceptional leaders, those who found the courage to run for office and those who support them. Emerge, I will say something you know. Throughout my entire career and life, I have always believed in the ideals of our nation. The ideals reflected in the Declaration of Independence, that all are created equal and endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. Ideals advanced and affirmed by the service and sacrifice of generations of patriots. The ideals that ground the Constitution of the United States, that here in our country, power ultimately lies not with the wealthy or well-connected, but with all of us, with we the people. Now, of course, I recognize that America has never fully lived up to these ideals, that for all the gains we've made, the American dream has for decades been slipping further out of reach for so many, and that the American people deserve leaders who make their lives better and make our country stronger. But sadly, we have seen quite the opposite over these past few months. Now, I know tonight's event happens to coincide with the 100 days after the inauguration, and I'll leave it to others to give a full accounting of what has happened so far. But I will say this. Instead of an administration working to advance America's highest ideals, we are witnessing the wholesale abandonment of those ideals. And what we are also seeing in these last 14 weeks is Americans using their voice and showing their courage. We all know President Trump and his administration and their allies are counting on the notion that fear can be contagious. They are counting on the notion that if they make some people afraid, it will have a chilling effect on others. But what they're overlooking, what they have overlooked, is that fear is not the only thing that's contagious. Courage is contagious. The courage of Americans who are banding together in the face of the greatest man-made economic crisis in modern presidential history. Americans across the political spectrum who are declaring that the president's reckless tariffs hurt workers and families by raising the cost of everyday essentials, devastate the retirement accounts that people spent a lifetime paying into, and paralyze American businesses, large and small, forcing them to lay off people, to stop hiring or pause investment decisions. The courage of Americans we are seeing who are rallying at Social Security offices to protect their hard-earned benefits. Of Americans who are speaking out to say, it is not okay to violate court orders. Not okay. Saying it is not okay to detain and disappear American citizens or anyone without due process. The courage of judges to uphold the rule of law in the face of those who would jail them. Of universities that are defying unconstitutional demands that threaten the pursuit of truth and academic independence. And I will tell you, the courage of all these Americans inspires me. And I have been inspired by the movements like the one in Wisconsin that put Susan Crawford on the Supreme Court. by the State of the People Power Tour that is aiming to ignite a grassroots movement to lift up voices and advance freedom and justice, and by leaders across the spectrum, including congressional leaders like Cory Booker, Chris Van Hollen, Chris Murphy, Jasmine Crockett, Maxwell Frost, AOC, and Bernie Sanders. All who, in different ways, have been speaking with moral clarity about this moment. So here's one of the other things I wanted to talk about tonight and to highlight. So look, some people are describing what's been happening in recent months as absolute chaos. And of course, I understand why. And it's certainly true of those tariffs. Tariffs that, as I predicted, are clearly inviting a recession. But friends, please let us not be duped into thinking everything is chaos. I know it may feel that way, but understand what we are in fact witnessing is a high-velocity event where a vessel is being used for the swift implementation of an agenda that has been decades in the making. An agenda to slash public education. An agenda to shrink government and then privatize its services. All while giving tax breaks to the wealthiest among us. By the way, an agenda that is not lowering costs, not making life more affordable, and not what they promised. It's an agenda, a narrow, self-serving vision of America, where they punish truth tellers, favor loyalists, cash in on their power, and leave everyone to fend for themselves, all while abandoning allies and retreating from the world. And folks, what we are experiencing right now is exactly what they envisioned for America. Right now, we are living in their vision for America. But this is not a vision that Americans want. We are living in a moment when the checks and balances upon which we have historically relied have begun to buckle. And we here know that when the checks and balances ultimately collapse, if Congress fails to do its part, or if the courts fail to do their part, or if both do their part, but the president defies them anyway, well, friends, that is called a constitutional crisis. And that is a crisis that will eventually impact everyone. Because it would mean that the rules that protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, that ensure each of us has a say about how our government works, will no longer matter. And if that happens, the one check, the one balance, the one power that must not fail is the voice of the people. And look, Look, right now I know a lot of folks are wondering what's going to guide us through this moment. How are we all going to figure out how to chart the course? But that's not a reason to throw up our hands. In fact, please allow me, friends, to digress for a moment. Okay. It's kind of dark in here, but I'm asking for a show of hands. Who saw that video from a couple of weeks ago, the one of the elephants at the San Diego Zoo during the earthquake? Google it if you've not seen it. So that scene has been on my mind. Everybody's asking me, what you've been thinking about these days? Well, so in the video, for those who haven't seen it, here those elephants were. And as soon as they felt the earth shaking beneath their feet, they got in a circle and stood next to each other to protect the most vulnerable. Think about it. What a powerful metaphor. Because we know those who try to incite fear are most effective when they divide and conquer, when they separate the herd, when they try to make everyone think they are alone. But in the face of crisis, the lesson is don't scatter. The instinct has to be to immediately find and connect with each other, and to know that the circle will be strong. So I'll end with this. I am not here tonight to offer all the answers, but I am here to say this. You are not alone, and we are all in this together. And straight talk, things are probably going to get worse before they get better. But we are ready for it. We are not going to scatter. We are going to stand together, everyone a leader, and emerge. You have a special role to play. Organizing is as important as ever. Mobilizing is as important as ever. Running for office is as important as ever. So please, everyone here, please keep doing what you are doing. And to everyone, let's lock it in. Lock it in. Gear up for the hard work ahead. And please, always remember, this country is ours. It doesn't belong to whoever is in the White House. It belongs to you. It belongs to us. It belongs to we, the people. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you all.
Folks, yesterday, the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon con man in chief, Donald Trump, released this executive order. It's called, go to my iPad, it's called White House Initiative to Promote Excellence and Innovation at Historically Black Colleges and Universities. It is 1,065 words of literally nothing. I mean nothing. By the authority vested in me, historically black colleges and universities remain integral. Yeah, we know all of that. It is the policy of my administration to support HBCUs in advancing America's full potential, fostering more and better opportunities in higher education, providing the highest quality education, obtaining equal opportunities for participation in federal programs, ensuring college-educated Americans are empowered to advance the common good at home and abroad, and making our nation more globally competitive. Oh, he's establishing the White House initiative on historically black colleges and universities. It's going to be housed in the executive office of the president. Then, with executive departments and agencies, the president's board of advisors on historically black colleges and universities, blah, 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 to share, increase the private sector role, including the role of private foundations in strengthening HBCUs through enhancing institutional planning and development, fiscal stability, and financial management, upgrading institutional infrastructure, including the use of technology, to ensure the long-term viability of these institutions, and blah, 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 blah. Oh, but here's with President's Advisor, Board of Advisors of HBCUs. Here we go. We're going to do this here. Accountability and implementation and revocations. And here's the deal. Remember he said working with federal agencies. So what did he say? Executive Order 14041, blah, 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 blah. The White House Initiative on Advancing this is from Biden. The White House Initiative on Advancing Educational Equity, Excellence, and Economic Opportunity through HBCUs for Trump is hereby revoked. Within 14 days of the date of the order, the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency shall terminate the historically black colleges and universities and minority serving institutions advisory council. Y'all, that is the only relevant thing in this executive order. The rest of it is BS. It speaks to it is a, what's they say? It's a nothing burger. It's nothing. It's literally 1,065 words of nothing. Zero. But I'll remind y'all, HBCUs got $17 billion from Biden-Harris. This is nothing. I don't know no other word to describe, Reese. I do. It's a phrase. Man, this ain't shit. This ain't shit.
Well, it's propaganda. It's something that
That's
they can pump out to their disinformation ecosystem. It's something they can pump out to the tangibles crew so they can take this and say, oh, look, Donald Trump is doing X, Y, and Z on this hand, while on the other hand, he's doing all of these things that actually undermine HBCUs, that undermine our communities. And so one thing that you got to tip your hat to Republicans is they know how to do propaganda. They know how to do just enough, just scratch the surface enough so that if you don't look at the devil in the details, you might think something positive is happening. But this man and his attacks on academia, period, on K through 12 education we've already covered, absolutely is going to impact HBCUs. What they're doing in terms of canceling grants that have 100 words in there, which include women, anything black, anything, that's money that's being taken away from HBCUs as well. And so this is where Republicans know how to deflect and confuse people and have all this smoke and mirrors and make that the headline as opposed to what they're actually really doing. And so it's clever because how many people are going to be watching this show and not realize the extent of how much this is bullshit? A lot of people are just going to see it. The media loves to sane wash this stuff and give that headline that makes it seem like he's doing something positive.
It's nothing in here, Tiffany.
There's nothing in here. It's just take away what Biden did. And I'm a little worried about what he thinks this executive order might do as it relates to giving his friends, his business partners, access and power to sort of influence what HBCUs decide to do or the direction they decide to take. There is no money attached to this executive order at all. But there is some language about how Trump wants to create his friends or some business partners or community members. It does say students and alumni in executive order, but like, who gets to choose them? I got those kind of questions, right? It's not just like an executive order that says we're gonna create another council and get rid of Biden's council. My question is then who gets to select these people, right? And if it's not the institutions themselves who are telling the president, here, which we've already been doing, to be clear, here's what we need, here's the resources and funding that we need, then that's the first concern that I have. The second concern is this: nobody at all should be talking about this executive order as a positive thing when Donald Trump is literally erasing and getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion across the country at every other institution. The two don't go together. You cannot say that you do not support and that it is illegal in the land of the law for diversity and equity and inclusion to exist, but yet you want to sit here and pretend like this executive order is supposed to help black students at HBC, at historically black colleges and universities. The two don't make sense. So we're either going to support people of color and students of color, make education a right, make it a quality education, fund education, and support the students that are on this campus, and help the institutions so that they're able to make sure that their campuses are safe, or you're not. And what you have been doing is showing us that you actually don't give a damn about what's happening at HBCUs. So this is a joke. We can read between the lines of what you wrote. We know this is personal, you being petty for Joe Biden, and we can see for what it is. And our institutions have a responsibility. This is a call to all of our HBCUs. Our HBCUs have a responsibility to not pretend like this is a good thing and go along with the motions. We need HBCUs and institutions to stand up around the country, protect their institutions, and more importantly, protect their students and their faculty and their educators, and make sure that the White House doesn't get to play with HBCUs, pretending like it did something good, because that's exactly what he wants to do.
So, Greg, there is a particular line in here I found to be of interest. Right here, let's see here. They're going to, wait a minute. I thought this one was pretty funny, okay? It's under the first section, under section 3, I need everybody to see this, it's H. Let me zoom in. It says, Greg, encouraging states to provide the required state matching funds for 1890 land grant institutions. Now, folks, allow me to remind you what happened under Biden-Harris. Do y'all remember September 2023 when the Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, remember when the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, when those two sent a letter to 16 states telling them that, oh, y'all have cheated HBCU land grant institutions out of $13 billion over the last 30 years. They found that only 2 states, Ohio and Delaware, actually didn't cheat the universities. That's the only ones. The other states, this is inside higher education, the other states' institutions had funding gaps between $172 million to $2.14 billion compared to their white counterparts. So, Greg, here is the question, and here's the funding gap, y'all. As you see, Tennessee is $2.1 billion. Greg, how many 1890 HBCU land grant institutions are in your home state?
Us.
Tennessee State.
Yeah. The only urban institution, only public urban institution in Nashville. Middle Tennessee State is in Murfreesboro. So y'all better stop that shit.
So it's, so it's 2.1 billion.
Yeah.
North Carolina, 2 billion. Yeah. Florida A&M, 1.973 billion.
A lot of money, brother.
Texas, 1.1 billion.
Prairie View, Texas Southern, no question.
Louisiana, 1.1 billion.
Southern University A&M.
West Virginia, 852 million.
West Virginia State University.
Georgia, 603 million.
Fort Valley State University, Albany State University, yes. Savannah State University, yes, sir.
Alabama, 527 million.
Alabama A&M, Alabama State University, yes, sir.
South Carolina, 469 million.
Oh, Bulldogs, South Carolina State University, yes, sir.
You better
Oklahoma,
have
418 million.
Oh, now let me think. That's
Langston?
Yeah, Langston University, that's right.
Missouri, 361.5 million. That's Lincoln University, and that's also it's in St. Louis, Harris Stowe.
Yeah.
Arkansas, 330.9 million, Pine Bluff.
Pine Bluff. Yeah.
Maryland, 321 million.
Eastern Shore, Morgan.
Bowie State.
Yes, sir.
That's right. Coppin State. Virginia, 277 million.
Oh, that's our frat brother down there, Abdullah, Dr. Abdullah.
Virginia State.
Norfolk State, Mike Vick, and them cats down there doing it.
Mississippi, right. 257 million.
Alcorn, Jackson State, absolutely. Mississippi Valley would have to go have a GoFundMe because they need the money. Forget them uniforms to play those damn $1 million games where the athletes get hurt. Absolutely.
Kentucky, 172 million.
Where the athletes get hurt.
Yep. Go Thoroughbreds. Kentucky State University in Frankfurt. That's right.
So, no. Go back. So, here's my question, Greg. Is Trump going to call the Republican governor of Tennessee, the Republican governor of Florida, the Republican governor of Texas, the Democratic governor of North Carolina, the Republican governor of Louisiana, the Republican governor of West Virginia, the Republican governor of Georgia, the Republican governor of Alabama, the Republican governor of South Carolina, the Republican governor of Oklahoma, the Republican governor of Missouri, his former staffer, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Republican governor of Arkansas.
Oh, I hate that girl.
Our frat brother, Democratic governor Wes Moore, Reese over there smiling and cheesing, governor of Maryland, the Republican governor, Glenn Youngkin of Virginia, the Republican governor, Tate Reeves of Mississippi, and the Democratic governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear. So of the 16 universities listed, only 3 of them have Democratic governors. I would love to know, Greg, especially of the black maggots, and since we name calling,
yes, sir.
Here's what I want to know. Byron Donalds of Florida.
Don't do it.
Tim Scott of South Carolina.
Yikes.
Wesley Hunt of Texas. All 3 of you have, your states are on here. Burgess Owens, you out there in Utah, but your ass still need to be making some phone calls.
How about it?
And here's what I want to know. David Harris Jr., you real loud on social media. Hodge twins, Cartier family, Candace Owens. Oh, I ain't done. Let me just go ahead and just pull one. See, one person. Joseph Pignon, where you at? What I want to know is, and see, I'm going to go ahead and show her, because she loves showing her ass on social media. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Sharice Lane. Pro-black conservative. Got reparations now on your feed. FAMU graduate. Look at you with your FAMU. Here's what I want to know, Sharice. Are you going to use your social media, your MAGA capital, to tell Trump to give that money to your university? Go ahead, Greg. I told y'all I'm petty.
No, you know the answer.
But you got receipts, though.
No question. No question. No, I think, well, several things. By the way, I didn't realize, I'm embarrassed to say until a couple of weeks ago, that there is a Black Chamber of Commerce, although I should have known this, in Utah. I picked up a book called Black Utah. So, yeah, I don't know if he's in touch with the people at the Black Chamber of Commerce in Utah, but there is one, Brother Burgess, so you should probably talk with them if you can get your head off from the MAGA hind parts. But I think there's several things. Tiffany, I think you focused in on some very important language there. At Howard University, the Secretary of Wrestling is an ex officio member of Howard's board. So look for Linda McMahon to be around because, again, as you say, Reese, they're excellent at trolling. They're excellent at public relations. And don't expect any real pushback because Howard is holding his breath for a reason I'll mention it in a moment. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. Larry Ellison, when I first came to Howard, had given some equipment and some in-kind stuff when he was running Oracle day-to-day to Howard University at the time. That was 3 presidents ago. Ellison now, of course, is vying to expand his reach and use our federal dollars to do it. So I wouldn't be surprised if he don't start sniffing around, and Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. because that language does kind of speak to enabling that kind of, when he's talking about free enterprise, that's basically, we're going to rob y'all. That's what they're talking about, take your public dollars. So there's that language. Speaking directly to what you raised, Roland, I don't expect him to call any of those folks, because I think that that executive order is speaking to picking up political points, and part of their politics, particularly these craven white nationalists, is an emphasis on select ideas, or select propaganda that they are somehow friends of the blacks. Look at my African American, friends of the blacks, Herschel Walker and, you know, these kind of clowns, friends of the blacks, HBCUs in some ways. Because remember, I think if memory serves me correctly, you can check with her directly, Roland. I think it was Omarosa was one of the people in his ear about moving that from the Department of Education to the White House, even though that had been done under previous administrations as well. But all that is a foreground to this. Separating black folk from other non-white groups in America, and shout out to all the descendants of slaves. Yes, I'm speaking to you, descendants of slaves who play into that blackface nativism and thereby weaken our collective efforts. By doing that, notice what was not mentioned in that initiative, in that executive order. And this is something that goes back to the previous administration. Separating the HBCUs from the other quote-unquote minority-serving institutions, the Hispanic-serving institutions and the tribal colleges, who have already complained again, saying, oh, so you're going to create an oppression Olympics between us and the blacks. I mean, this is all designed with that in mind. And there have been a couple of HBCUs that have said thank you in the wake of this executive order, thereby playing right into it. At least Kellyanne Conway isn't around to have her feet off on the couch while the Negroes are lining up to cheese behind the President of the United States. Now, all that is a foreground to this. He ain't going to call them because he didn't have to. The hillbillies behind the cotton curtain will continue to try to strangle the HBCUs. This is just rhetoric. Finally, I think it's important to understand exactly what both of y'all have said. And Reese, you kind of emphasized this. Just this week, it was announced, for example, that the federal government, through the State Department, because Trump's trying to destroy the State Department, which, you know, I don't really have mixed opinions at all. I think the United States is already is receding as a world power, and this is just going to accelerate it. And that might ultimately, in the long range, if we're smart enough to have some global solidarity, be a plus for us. But a story for another day. One of the things they're doing as they're pancaking the State Department is ending the contract with Howard University to recruit candidates for the Rangel and Pickering fellowships. Those two fellowships are used to recruit non-whites and underrepresented groups into the Foreign Service. Now you signing this executive order, the Negroes are like, hey, thank you, and you're ending the contract that it created a pipeline to create black ambassadors, black State Departments, black employees, black diplomats. So we have to pay strict attention. It is rhetorical, it is useless, but there is a politics animating that theater. And I think that politics is far more dangerous than the words on this last piece of paper that the clown is scribbling with his crayon on.
See, the thing for me here, Reese, is, and this is why I tell folk, y'all, I don't get excited about sheets of paper. I want to know the details. And the reality is, and let me be real clear, and I've said this to black Republicans, we are still constituents. We are still taxpayers. We as black people, even though we were the smartest folk in America and not voting for this phony fraud, we knew what was going on. But we still are owed, we still are owed a whole lot. Daryl Scott, I'm talking to you too. Where you at? Not where the fans at, where the MAGA's at. Where the black MAGA's at? What? See, he talking about it. Y'all, no. Since y'all gonna be in the room, kikiing, Harlem shuffling, because we know y'all can't do boots on the ground.
No.
Since y'all in there, are y'all gonna ask for the $13 billion? And since all these Republicans are playing the bend over game with Donald Trump, when they were voting on the voucher bill in Texas, that scam, Trump phoned in to the House Republicans, y'all vote for this bill. Okay, Donald, tell Greg to release that money to Texas land grants.
That's right.
Come on, Byron. You supposedly running for governor? Tell Donald to call Ron and your wife, his wife, the co-governor, to release that money? Come on, Daryl Scott. Tell Trump to call Lee in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
Come on now. Come on, Cartier family, all you little young boys, y'all be running y'all mouth. Tell Trump to call Brian Kemp and give Georgia that money. If all of you, and y'all don't like nobody, y'all can't stand when black people call out and question your ethnicity, all right, show us something. And if you're not gonna stand up for black people and ask for the money, y'all all a bunch of frauds. Reese, go right ahead.
That's true. You did mention my governor, though, Governor Westmore of Maryland. So I just had to just let people know that in the fiscal year 25 budget, he doubled the state federal match for the 1890 land grant institution. There's only one left, to $4.8 million. Okay, so
now, hold up. He frat, but this is old money. See, that's recent money. I need that old money. Because see, that was let me hear. That money we talking about, that was for a very specific 30-year period.
I know what you're saying.
So the HBCUs in Maryland should be getting that old money plus new money. But go ahead.
I'm saying that he don't need a call. He already on the JOB. That's what I'm saying. You
now
know
it's 321. So it's the fourth lowest. Still need that check.
Okay, well, he on the job. He on the job. Okay. So, anywho.
I'm going to send him a text, too.
Go ahead, do it. I got my governor's back, okay? No, but anyway, to your point, yeah, I mean, if y'all supposed to be the Negro Council to Donald Trump, then
Angela Stanton King always running her loud ass mouth. You in Georgia? Where you at, Angela? Oh, little Michaela Montgomery stood your ass outside of that Chick-fil-A with Trump.
I ain't seen her.
Brought your ass down to Revolt World trying to get loud with me. When y'all gonna ask for the $603 million?
She tried to get loud.
Reese, try to get loud. Remember, girl, go sit your little country ass there. You called me out. You called me a lie. My parents were watching your show. Your ass lied.
Say hi to the parents.
But your ass lied.
You calling somebody country with a cowboy hat on is hilarious.
No, baby, hold up. You know, first of all, wearing a cowboy hat don't mean your country.
I know, but I'm just saying.
That means your ass got swagger.
Come on.
Reese, go ahead.
It is a nice hat. It is a nice hat. You information. I don't know if you want a cowboy Carter later or what. But anywho.
This is my coat. I'm rocking this Cody James. Going right. I had my Stetson on the other day, but going right ahead.
Where your fan at?
No. That shit is not.
Don't hate on the fan.
You ain't gonna never see my ass with a fan. Let's be real clear.
Wait a minute, I'm gonna send you the clip.
Let's be real clear. No, let's be real clear.
You didn't have no fan.
Let's be real clear. When 803 Fresh said where the fans at, he talking to y'all.
He talking to the ladies.
Okay, when it's time to clap, let me be real clear. Ladies clap with fans. We clap. Reese, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm gonna send you the video.
Yeah, well, you know, I want to go back to Tiffany's point earlier about this whole notion of oversight. You know, a couple weeks ago, Roland, we talked about what was happening with one of these universities where there was this terrible loan of sorts that they were trying to...
St. Augustine. I'm going to deal with their ass in a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, there you go. There you go. And so I'm just, the wheels are turning, and I'm thinking about how this oversight, and the one thing they always try to attack HBCUs on is their finances. And so I don't like the idea of them getting their tentacles more in these institutions. To Tiffany's point, again, there's no money associated with this. So you're increasing oversight with people who are not disinterested parties. And then the other part of it that does not compute is their whole emphasis on private-public partnerships. When this administration is suing or threatening to sue and investigating corporations for DEI, any kind of DEI programs, that doesn't really compute with increasing partnerships from the private sector. And so there are so many things, actually their entire platform outside of this EO completely contradict any notion that they actually have earnest intentions here on improving HBCUs.
Well, again, Greg, real quick, then we'll go Tiffany.
No, just very quickly. The one that we should be paying attention to, even though I think it's completely illegal, is the executive order he signed yesterday going after the accrediting bodies. Understand that every university has to have accreditation. For Howard and the Mid-Atlantic states, it's middle states. For most of our HBCUs, it's SACs. What they want to do now is expand the number of bodies that are able to do accreditation, and they want to, he used the phrase, prevent ideological overreach. It's going to be illegal, but what they are now doing, he's calling the accrediting bodies his secret weapon. If they can figure out a way to withhold funding, meaning Pell Grants and student loans, to university accrediting bodies, man, listen, that is the battleground. Because if you lose your accreditation, we saw it at Morris Brown, we've seen it different places, that means that you can't get federal loans or Pell Grants to go to school. And that is the one that Russell Vaught and them boys in Project 2025 are taking dead aim at. I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The only thing I wanted to add, Roland, is when you talk about the MAGA, what'd you call them?
Maggots.
The maggots.
I tried to write everything down. Between
M-A-G-A-O-T-S.
No, I know how to spell it, but I'm thinking between MAGA maggots and what Dr. Carr said earlier, the hillbillies behind the cotton curtain. I just feel like everybody needs to tweet that and tag both of them in it. I just want to name, when we're talking about power, back to what you said earlier, the reason why we're not going to see, to be clear, any of the people that Roland listed call Donald Trump and ask him for this $13 billion is because they know that if they did, Donald Trump going to tell them no. And the people on that list are the folks who appreciate pretending like they have access to power by conforming to white supremacy and doing their best to act like white people, but they have no power to get what they actually need or what they actually want from Donald Trump. So I'm glad we have a network and a space where we can display the hypocrisy, call them out and tell them to tell Donald Trump what to do, because this is what he wrote in his executive order. But to be very clear, the reason why you're not going to see any of these people respond to the call to action is because they know that if they try to attempt to call Donald Trump, he going to look at them and laugh and say, get out my face. He ain't giving nobody no money. And these folks don't have the power like they think they do, just because they're pretending and conforming to white supremacy and conforming to Donald Trump and making America great again does not mean that they actually have the power to get what they want. I would love to see, and I will support, I would love to see them call Donald Trump, have a meeting with him and say, look, this is what you wrote in your executive order, $13 billion on the list. Here are all the land grant institutions. Here are all of the states that we're in. How are we going to move this money and hold people accountable? I would love to see them do that. But you ain't never going to see it because they have no power. Donald Trump's not going to give them the time of the day. He's not going to allow them to schedule a meeting with him. He's not even going to take their phone call. Okay? So continue to put pressure on those people, but let's make sure that when Roland is calling those folks out, that we're paying attention to the why it's not happening. It's because they do not have power. They are performing.
Oh, absolutely. So, and again, since y'all love to stand there knee deep in your blackness, y'all love to talk about Frederick Douglass was a Republican. Y'all love to talk about, oh, it was Democrats who created the KKK. All historical facts. But I got to remind y'all, we know exactly who's supporting Confederate monuments today.
Ooh.
Your boy Trump and the Republican Party. If y'all claim y'all are real, be a modern day Bob Brown. Be a modern day Arthur Fletcher.
That's right.
Or you're going to end up really being a modern day Stephen from Django. Who that on that nag?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Who that on that nag?
Don't do it.
Hey, brother.
Yeah, I said it.